Hi everyone, so today we'll look at how to approach question 4s in both AQA's language papers 1 and 2. So starting with question 4, paper 1. This is where we are given a statement and asked to what extent do we agree with this. For this question, we want to be writing 4 to 6 paragraphs, depending on your paragraph size. We also want to be using quotes to back up our points and linking back to the statement throughout the response. It's also important to note that to achieve high marks for this question, it's good to approach it as a debate-style question. So still arguing your point, but perhaps presenting a counter-argument to really strengthen your response. Also, we'll be making sure to evaluate the writer's methods and the effect they leave on the reader throughout. Now here's some overall example structures you can use. In example 1, we can see where a student might agree with the statement, their first 2 paragraphs might be in agreement with the statement, then the third paragraph might present a counter-argument and the fourth paragraph refutes that. Then you finally have your conclusive paragraph closing up your response. In example 2, we can see the structure a student might follow where they partially agree with the statement. So 2 paragraphs for and 2 against the statement, and then a conclusive close. Okay, so now let's look at what we would write in the paragraphs and how much detail we want to be going into. For the breakdown of what each paragraph might look like, for the opening sentence, this is where you might want to include your opinion on the statement, so saying that you completely agree or partly agree with the statement. Then for the evidence, you want to include a relevant quote which backs up your point of why you agree or disagree with the statement. Now it's always great if you can pick a quote which uses a language or structural technique. This is because it makes it a lot easier to analyse in your explanation. For the explanation bit, this is where you want to go in and analyse the quote, talking about the significance of the effect that the quote uses, the writer's intention, and how this presents their feelings and perspectives and leaves an impact on the reader. You can also link it to broader themes in the text and the writer's tone. Just make sure that you're clearly identifying the technique being used. This will mean you're directly answering the question and showing the examiner you are engaging with the statement. Now with the link, think of this as a summarizing sentence for your paragraph or perhaps something that might lead onto your next point. Here you want to make sure you are re-emphasizing why your point is justified and links back to how much you agree or disagree with the statement. Just a quick reminder to make sure you like and subscribe to stay up to date with all my videos. Now to advance your writing overall, but especially for questions like these, examiners like it when you use things like embedded quotes and a clear structure in response to the statement. Also make sure you're using a higher vocab where you can, and analytical language to tell the examiner you are observing the statement and can write confidently about it. Let's look at an example together. Okay, so this is a Band 5 response. It roughly follows appeal structure with a lot of emphasis on the explanation and analysing an impact of quotes. Your response may vary because everyone's writing style is different, but just make sure to take away the key things as we said, like embedded quotes and always engaging with the statement. Make sure to pause to have a read. I'll also make sure to leave a couple of links below for more example answers. Now let's look at question 4 in paper 2. As we know, paper 2 will ask us to analyse 2 non-fictional texts. The key thing to note is that there are 2 texts, which means we'll be comparing them for question 4. So again, we're looking at writing about 4 to 6 paragraphs, depending on your paragraph size. And again, we'll be using quotes throughout to back up the analysis we make and of course referencing both texts in a balanced way throughout. This just means be really careful not to write way more about one text than the other. You want to show the examiner that you feel confident discussing both texts. And like we said, the aims for this question are making effective comparisons in our response. And like paper 1, this question 4 also requires us to evaluate the writer's methods and their effects. Of course, what's different is that we are looking at the whole of source A and the whole of source B and analysing both for techniques and themes which we can compare in our response. So for structure, again, we can use this peel paragraph as our template, but instead we need to make it comparative. So once again, we want to present the opening sentence or point which we're making. Here is where you want to present the common idea or main comparative point you'll be discussing, which you would have found between the 2 texts. Then we want to move on to the evidence. This is using 2 quotes or phrases from each text which you'll be analysing and comparing in the explanation. And these would typically link to the main idea which we just stated in our opening sentence. Like I said before, it's a great thing to have quotes which use language or structural techniques or words you can zoom into, which you can then always analyse in the explanation. And that brings us nicely onto the explanation. So this, again, is where most of your marks and confidence with analysis will be picked up by the examiner. Make sure you're using comparative language. For example, in source A ... whereas in source B ... This tells the examiner that you are constantly engaging with what you're being asked in the question, and also that you're able to compare the 2 texts. As always, in the explanation, we want to be discussing the significance of the two quotes or phrase we've chosen, what they show us about the writer's feelings and perspectives, and how this shapes a specific impact on the reader. Finally, we have the link, which you can use to summarize the comparison you've made in this paragraph. Okay, so feel free to pause to read through this Band 5 example for question 4, paper 2. Again, make sure you're paying attention to how they interweave embedded quotes, identify techniques used, and link this to the writer's perspectives throughout their response. I really hope this was helpful. Don't forget to check out the links below for more example answers. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.